How's it going guys, Chris here, bringing you another guide for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. And today we're going to be checking out the Fennec 45, a rapid firing submachine gun unlocked at rank 38. So the Fennec 45 is pretty much based on the Kriss Vector SMG. Its in-game design looks a little bit different to the one in reality, though it's essentially the same gun with the same blisteringly fast rate of fire. The Vector isn't just a gun, but a series of weapons based on an original design. It's a pretty wild looking thing, standing out from the crowd due to it looking like a gun from the future. And it also uses a very unique operating system, a mechanism that lets the gun's bolt move downwards in a recess behind the magwell while firing, designed with the intention to reduce muzzle climb, helping to minimise the recoil. Despite being an SMG, the Kriss Vector is actually a bit beefier than a lot of other submachine guns, made available for a variety of different caliber types, with the one we get to use in Modern Warfare 2 being chambered for the 45 ACP round, hence the in-game name Fennec 45. In reality, this isn't the kind of gun you'd typically expect to see everywhere up on the front line, as its practicality is questionable. At the end of the day, is a gun that fires at 1200 RPM really necessary for military use? Probably not. But its innovative design does have to be admired at least. Plus it does make for a pretty cool looking, interesting gun in the world of gaming too. Hence why it's featured in a lot of FPS titles. In Modern Warfare 2, the Vector, aka the Fennec 45, deals different damage figures depending on where your bullet lands on the body. But generally, you can expect a 4-shot kill up to 12 meters when shooting at the chest and stomach. Limb shots are going to drop the damage a bit lower, possibly meaning in some fights, you might need to land an extra bullet to seal the deal. And in a way, it kinda has a fairly similar damage model to the Vel 46, only having a tiny bit more range with ever so slightly higher damage values, which isn't really going to affect too much in the grand scheme of things. Of course, at longer ranges, the Fennec's going to be a lot weaker, possibly taking up to 8 shots to put your target down beyond 38 meters. So just like most of the SMGs, you're best sticking within close quarters if you want to fully utilise the gun's power here, which you'll definitely be able to do, having the fastest fire rate of the base game guns, shooting at the rapid speed of 1091 RPM, essentially making it a bullet hose. This lets you pepper your enemies with shots and cut them down in barely any time at all up close, generally giving it some really competitive kill times here, some of the fastest in the whole game, well within those earlier ranges at least. So by conducting a little firing test from 10 meters, we can see that, in typical video game fashion, that high fire rate is going to equate to a fair bit of recoil. So it does look like in the name of balance, the anti-recoil Super V system doesn't really want to work. We can see that the Fennec's going to drift upwards, scattering its shots over a fairly wide spread. Definitely not the tightest set of shot groupings, so you can expect the weapon to become quite inaccurate beyond close range, increasing the kill times over range due to more bullets straying off target. There doesn't seem to be a distinctive pattern to the recoil, other than the fact that it's going to move vertically, spraying shots out randomly from side to side while it does. In CQC, the recoil probably won't be too hard to control, as the sheer volume of bullets being sprayed out will put the other guy down fast, before that recoil has a chance to become a problem. Hipfire spread is fairly average, though it should still prove to be quite effective with this gun in particular, due to it shooting so bloody quickly. Though you can expect the Fennec to become a lot less effective over distance, not just because of its wider spread of shots, but also because of its lower bullet speed and higher bullet drop. All things that are going to make the gun less precise and tricky to use against players further away, many of who will have the advantage over you. The Fennec 45's got a pretty average magazine size of 30 rounds, just like a few of the other SMGs. Not a great amount, but still technically enough to take on a few players before you'll need to reload. The main problem here is that speedy fire rate, which can make those 30 rounds disappear in no time at all. So ammo expenditure can seem harder to moderate as a result, often meaning that you're going to be more prone to running out of ammo mid-gunfight, putting you in awkward situations when you're surrounded by enemies. Actual reload times aren't too bad, though still not the best, taking about 3 seconds for a tactical mag swap and 3.3 seconds when that mag's completely dry. So it's not quite as reliable as the Vel 46, which has both quicker reloads and a larger ammo count, with the Fennec sometimes struggling to keep you in the action, if you're not careful. You'll therefore have to plan your moves carefully and have a bit of a backup plan if too many enemies pop out at once, relying on your sidearm more often to get you through some fights. Thankfully for the Fennec 45, it does at least have a snappy aim down side speed, which is going to help you acquire targets quickly in CQC, essentially helping to reduce the time to kill even further here. Its overall mobility stats are fairly decent, having nothing to really cause you any issues, and so it should feel quite responsive for aggressive run and gun tactics. So hopping over to Gunsmith to see how we can tweak the Fennec 45, there's quite a lot of options that are going to play to its strengths, favouring aggressive playstyles by increasing mobility, and there's also quite a few attachments that are going to do the opposite, essentially turning the gun into more of a mid-range rapid-firing weapon that might struggle a little bit more in CQC. Both of these paths can be found in the barrel section first and foremost, as the standard one without mods gives you a nice balance in the middle. To boost performance for running and gunning, you might want to equip the 5.5-inch mini-tac for more of a mobility boost, or possibly the 8.5-inch recon barrel if you don't want to sacrifice any range damage. Though on the flip side, you could choose to equip one of those heftier barrels to improve the gun's use over mid-ranges. The 4-stack Ninja and Covert Force barrels will do this, with both having integrated suppressors, though the Ignition barrel will extend the barrel without a suppressor, allowing you to pick your own muzzle to amplify the stats even further. Speaking of the muzzles, if you really want to make the Vector look ridiculous, you could always choose the last barrel I just mentioned and join it up with an independent suppressor like the Shikra silencer to essentially boost effective range even further. Or opt for a less goofy compensator or flash hider like the X10 Razor Comp or Fox 202 to help deal with some of the recoil, which will probably seem quite useful for help over range too. Pretty much all the muzzles are going to lower mobility, so if you're sticking to a more aggressive loadout, you might want to avoid them. Underbarrels are going to suit the Fennec quite well overall by giving you bonuses for hipfire and minor recoil reduction, two things that can help the gun's performance for general play in short and longer range fights. The VX Pineapple and F-Tac Tiger are decent ones for doing this, at the expense of slightly slower movement and ADS speeds. And because the Fennec is generally a gun designed to be used closer to the action, a laser is practically a no-brainer with this gun, offering better manoeuvrability or hipfire without much of a trade-off, apart from some of those lasers being visible. Select a close range optic if you're going for an offensive class, or a mid-range reflex sight if you've gone with an extended barrel to boost range. Though if you're fine with the iron sights, these are going to give you the best performance within shorter sightlines, having no mobility nerfs. With the Fennec prone to deleting its ammo very quickly, I definitely recommend adding a 45 round magazine on there, which will slightly affect your overall movement speeds, but those extra 15 shots are going to come in really handy, making you less vulnerable when you need to take on a few enemies in quick succession, which in Modern Warfare 2 happens a hell of a lot. If you want to boost mobility to the max at the expense of recoil, which will make it tricky to use beyond those closer ranges, then go for a stock attachment like the F-Tac Stock Cap or the Assault 7. Though with the Fennec often struggling to land shots on target beyond close range as it is, I generally prefer something like the X-Command stock instead, to give you more control when firing, tightening up those shot groupings. The stipple grip will also help to do this too, at the expense of more sway, though the rubber one will help to maximise its CQC performance instead. In conclusion, the Fennec 45 is, unsurprisingly, the bullet hose of Modern Warfare 2. Spraying close range targets with hot lead to put them down in the blink of an eye, generally suiting aggressive playstyles by putting all of its eggs in one basket, prioritising speed over power and accuracy. This gives the gun the ability to melt enemies in CQC, turning them into Swiss cheese in a matter of milliseconds. Though strayed just a little bit outside of the Fennec's comfort zone, and you will start to notice those kill times increasing, down to the lack of power over range, combined with the gun's lack of accuracy, forcing more shots off target due to the recoil, along with slower travelling bullets, therefore turning the tides in your opponent's favour. It goes without saying that close quarters is where the gun is truly going to shine, not only having some very competitive kill times here, but quicker than average ADS times and generally decent mobility stats. Also being highly effective when shooting from the hip too, and the fact that it uses subsonic ammo, hiding those kill skulls, is also a nice little bonus too for playing behind enemy lines. With all this said, 30 rounds might sound like plenty enough ammo to get the job done, but you do need to be aware of how quickly that ammo diminishes every time you squeeze the trigger, often forcing you to reload at times where you really don't want to be forced to reload, leaving you with your pants down, running off to find some nearby cover. In a way, this makes the Fennec a bit more of a situational risk-reward type weapon, having tons of power that can be devastating when played to its strengths, but also something that can punish you when you're not being aware of its limitations. So that's it for this one guys, I do hope you enjoyed the guide. Please be sure to hit that like button if you did, as that helps the channel out, and if you want to see more guides, subscribe and check out the playlist in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.